Hello and welcome our beloved viewers to RTD's News English Edition. Tonight, as usual, we'll begin with the major in top highlights. Launching ceremony of the Investment Code Revision Work, Primacy and Investment. And on the international scene, the East African Force, a second group of Kenyan soldiers in Goma. Those were the major top highlights. So welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. Today was held at Djibouti Palace Kempinski the launching ceremony of the work of overhaul of the investment code placed under the auspice of the Prime Minister, His Excellency Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, alongside the Secretary of State, Mrs. Safia Mohammed Ali Gadile, which marks as the kickoff of the work. The event was attended by members of the government, members of parliament, diplomatic corps, international organizations, the private sector, and etc. They will revise the present code instituted by the law number 53/1336 of December 31, 1953, dating from the colonial area, and which was amended until the one of today, whose last modification date from 1994 is to make it face with the economic progress of the country, but also to adapt it to the economic policy of the Vision 2035 and the second five-year strategy of development of the country named Djibouti here. A presentation of reform project was made to remind the public of the current issues and the methodology that will be adopted in the redesign work. The Secretary of State in charge of investment and private sector development in coordination with the Ministry of Finance and responsible for implementing government policy on investment and private sector development. It is therefore responsible for undertaking all the necessary reforms to make the business environment more attractive in order to boost the private sector and make it more competitive. The President of the Chamber of Commerce of Djibouti, Mr. Yusuf Musa Dawale, and the Head of Affairs of the European Union, Mr. Fabrice Bersil, have in turn indicated the importance of this ceremony to launch the work of recasting the investment code. During her speech, the Secretary of State, Mrs. Safia, recalled that the present project recreating is part of a context of social, economic development, the emergence of local communities, the reduction of unemployment and economic growth through the stimulation of the private sector. The Minister of Finance, for his part, Mr. Elias Musa Dawale, has unsealed a statement of the major challenges facing Djibouti and the objective of this large-scale event today. Finally, in his speech, the Prime Minister, His Excellency Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, showed by his presence that the improvement of business climate is of a vital interest for the country. Under the high patronage of the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble Abdille, was held yesterday, Wednesday, at the Djibouti Palace Kempinski ceremony to launch the analysis of the filling of the nutrient deficiencies. In addition to the Minister of Health, this event also saw the participation of the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Madam Mulufa Ismail Abdo, the representative of the World Food Programme in Djibouti, the representative of the United Nations Children's Fund, and executives from different departments concerned with the issues of food balance and nutrition. The day continued until late afternoon with discussions, debates, and exchanges on the progress that could be informed by the FNG, and the day ended with the preliminary identification of modeling scenarios. Indeed, nutrition being a crucial pillar for the development of a healthy and productive nation, good nutrition improves physical and cognitive development, prevents diseases, and increases the productivity of the working population. As a result, improving diets, especially for children and women, has immediate and long-term health, educational, and economic benefits. And in a speech made by the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, on this occasion to launch a study to analyze efforts to combat malnutrition, she especially emphasized on this part. The Minister of Health also, Dr. Ahmed Roble, explained that the study of the food gap is a very important study that will allow us to know the gaps in terms of nutrients present in every class living in Djibouti. The Police Academy Idris Farah Abani hosted this morning a religious conference in the presence of the Chief of General Staff of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, and the Director General of the National Police, Colonel Abdulrahman Ali Kahin. This religious conference was animated by Sheikh Mustafa Sheikh Hajj Ismail and by Sheikh Hussein Ali. This meeting, which was held in the atmosphere of Apifa, gathered all the officers of the National Police. The objective of this conference was to transmit religious advice to the men and women of the National Police. It should be noted that all the officers of the National Police appreciated this moment of conviviality in the presence of the two eminent sheikhs recognized everywhere in the Muslim world for their knowledge of religious hadith.
iyo dhaqan wanaag mar haddii aad tihiin dadkii nabadda ka shaqaynayay ee ummaddan wanaaggeeda ilaalinayay waa inuu ninka ciidanka hay siiba ninka booliskii waa inuu noqdaa qof shacabka saaxiib la ah qof raba dadka dhibtu haysata inuu dhibta ka saaro kan tuuga noqday ama dhibta noqday ama kan noqday waa inaanad u fakerin inaad ciqaabto oo tidhaahdo waa ka jaraya ciqaabtu waa inay noqotaa wax qofka ku soo celinaya nolosha caadiga inuu ku noqdo maaha wax lagaga aargoosanayo laleeyahay isna waxaad sameynaa inaan ka aargoosano ee waxaa la rabaa qofkani sidee looga dhigi lahaa muwaatin saalixa.
Within the framework of the launching of the first edition of the 20-kilometer of Sheraton Hotel, an agreement was signed between the Djiboutian Federation of Athletics and the Sheraton Hotel. Under the leadership of the Secretary of State in charge of sports, a partnership that interests the organization of this great sporting event. It should be noted that this race will help to advance the level, will serve as a barometer for cycling in Djibouti. It will especially identify new talent among bike lovers who will now have the opportunity to participate. The meeting took place this Wednesday at the Sheraton Hotel in the presence of Madame Khadija Ibrahim, Secretary General of the SES, Mr. Emmanuel Rigi, General Manager of Sheraton Hotel, and Mr. Ali Megani, President by interim of the Djiboutian Cycling Federation. Still in the framework of the fight against smuggling and illicit products, after a very large control operation carried out in the region of Dekhel by the Army Riyadh Internal Regiment of that region, it is in the nights of November 15 that the elements of the Army of Riyadh under the commands of the Colonel of the Army Riyadh of Dekhel and of the Chiefs of the Brigade of the Customs of Dekhel, Mr. Musa Umar Musa. The latter intercepted 30 carts of 40 kilos each, that is to say 1,200 kilos in total, coming from Ethiopia through the locality of Atuwe in Bondora, transported by runners on the back of men. After their seizure, the session of destruction of these important quantities of cart took fire within the post of Said Gabani of the Army Riyadh of Dekhel. The Director General of the Customs and Indirect Rights, Mr. Gulait Ahmed, addressed his warm congratulations to all the elements of the customs, the police, and the military inter-army regiments of Dekhel for their collaboration to the success of this operation to the fight against smuggling, in particular the chiefs of the Army Corps, Riyadh of Dekhel. As we shift our focus to the international scene now, a second group of Kenyan soldiers from the East African Regional Forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo arrived Wednesday in Goma, the capital of North Kivu, under the threat of an attack by M23 rebels who continue their offensive. Two Kenyan army planes landed about 60 men in Goma in eastern Congo, 4 days after the arrival of a first contingent of about 100 Kenyan soldiers. On November the 10th, Kenya's parliament authorized the deployment of about 900 troops as part of the regional force. Well, by this, our beloved viewers, we finally conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us, and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Thank you.